Right now, there's no coherent movement on the left to resist and restore democracy, but it will arise. And when it does, as activists need to be ready to shoot for the three essential ingredients that make for a successful mobilization campaign. To understand how to build a successful movement, we can look to the sociology of social movements. Francesca Poletta is a very well-known scholar of social movements, and what she argues is that there are three essential ingredients for mobilizing, and those are political opportunities, mobilizing structures, and effective messaging or frames. I'm going to go through each of these and explain them to you. And if you have any questions or suggestions, put them in the comment section. So what does it mean when social movement scholars talk about political opportunities? If you think about the way things are as like a big wall around a castle and people standing outside trying to change things have to get in, then political opportunities are like chinks in the wall and ladders to get over it. These are the ways in which you can breach the way that things just are, right? And so these are things like changes in political rhetoric, things like the presence of allies within the government and within circles of power. These are things like the appearance of external threats that support the movement's claims. If a movement is trying to argue that democracy is dead and we need to resist authoritarianism, things like the presence of an external threat of people getting snatched off the street and being denied their due process would be an excellent illustration to hammer home that we need to reinstate democracy and fight back. Other opportunities that may arise are things like cleavages within the ruling elites, where some of them decide to break off and support the movement, and also vulnerability to election for being an authoritarian asshole. So that's political opportunities. Let's talk about the second essential ingredient, mobilizing structures. When talking about mobilizing structures, that means what is it that gets people out into the streets? What's in it for people? Because if you think about it, it's in people's best interest to not join a movement because they can just be a free rider and get all of the benefits if the movement succeeds. This is called the free rider problem. So what actually gets people out? Well, it happens to be the structure of relationships. So what this means is that people are more likely to join if they've already got somebody in the movement that they know who is encouraging them to get out and get involved, or broader communities that they're a part of. So we can see this in the massive influence of the Black Southern churches within the civil rights movement. People belonged to these churches, which were organizing, and so it was easier to get people involved because they already knew a bunch of people, and it became like this moral imperative. Okay, so we understand there has to be political opportunities. We understand mobilizing structures where communities and relationships are what get people into this domino effect of a bigger amount of people joining. And final ingredient is messaging. Framing. How do you tell a story that convinces people that there's a problem and that there is a solution to that problem if they join the movement? If a movement wants to get people out into the streets, they need to explain the problem, offer a solution, and motivate participation in the context of the dominant values that already exist within the population. So equality has historically been a really good one in the United States. I think right now we have several historical values that Americans hold, which are things like personal liberty, freedom of speech, and the equality of everyone before the law, that could really be powerful avenues for framing a message about why we need to do something. The message of vote blue no matter who is no longer going to work. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be one framing. Poletta thinks that movements are more effective when they have multiple messaging frames. So it could be more than one. If it's ambiguous enough, maybe it can build a big tent. Now, other social movement scholars have challenged this, but that's what she argued. She also argues that they're more effective when there's a big bad bully that you're fighting against. That should be fairly simple in these trying times. Now, I do not have all the answers here. This is very much a we problem that will not get solved by one person alone. So, what do you see as the political opportunities currently available to us? What do you see as ways that we can mobilize our personal relationships to encourage participation? And what do you see as effective messaging opportunities for a movement? I'm going to do a follow-up video to this one on what Marshall Ganz had to say in the same roundtable about what makes an effective social movement.